Hey guys, Railroad Kid 1937 here, back for another video review. Once again, doing another Broadway Limited review. This time, we're going to be looking at the Santa Fe Blue Line F7s in the Santa Fe War Bonnet paint scheme. Let's go ahead and check these bad boys out. Okay, so for those who have been subscribed for about a little over a year, you know that I had a set of Santa Fe's before. Or not really a set, but I had one Santa Fe engine before. It was an Athearn Genesis, and it was the first run of Athearn Genesis diesels. And I had a bunch of problems with it when I first took it out the box, and I made this huge rant video about the seller who sold me this engine. Anyway, the story goes that I bought this engine on eBay thinking that it was the newer model, but it wasn't. So be it. That was my fault for not reading the description. All I know was it had DCC and sound, so I was real happy. I got it. You know, I was happy anyway. I did some research on the engine, but I found out that it had chipped paint in certain areas, like the lettering on the side was chipped. There were some other defects with it that I can't really remember, and I knew that it had an MRC decoder and that the sound wasn't the best. Not only that, but it wasn't really the sound that was the problem. It was just that the train wouldn't run properly. And another thing that happened was the light bulb ended up burning out after a while. But I told the guy, I said, look, this got all these problems that you never mentioned, and I'd like at least $20 back. He's like, look, I'm not gonna give you a $20 refund. I'll get you a $10 refund. I made the video on YouTube ranting about this guy. I don't know who it was or how many people did it, but a bunch of people sent this guy angry emails, telling him, how dare he do that. And I appreciate every last one of you guys, because he went back and he gave me the full $10 refund that I wanted. Later on, I actually became one of the guy's best customers. He really was a fair guy. It was just that transaction, mix up fine, and another thing that ended up happening was he passed away. The guy passed away. I believe his name was Joe. Yeah, Joe. I believe the guy's name was Joe. And he passed away because on eBay I saw this set of Santa Fe's, the Blue Lines, with NC decoders already installed, sound, and they wanted about $425 for the whole package. And I went and messaged the guy. I looked at the account, and I'm like, oh hey, that's the guy that I bought my Santa Fe from before. And I also bought another engine from him, the one that you guys never saw, which was the Bachmann 10-wheeler, which I ended up selling. But I messaged the guy. I'm like, hey Joe, how you doing? I'm a cop. We've done business before in the past. And his brother, he's like, oh hey, how you doing? He's like, bad news. Joe actually passed away from cancer a few months ago. And I was really sad to hear that. I didn't wish anything bad upon the guy at all, even after the transaction. I was sure I was a little heated at the moment, but you don't wish anything like that. But I had done transactions with him after that, and he was a great guy. Joe was a really great guy, and he was all about giving the customer the best deal. And he and his brother, I remember talking to him before about him and his brother. And his brother was the one that ended up selling me these engines. I asked, I said, do you think you could give them to me for $375? And he's like, Joe would have wanted me to do it. You're a repeat customer. Why not? We'll give them to you for $375 with shipping. Got all 3 engines. 2 of these have sound. It's the front, or it's both the A units. The B unit is actually a dummy, and I wasn't aware of that at first. It was in the description on eBay. I just wasn't paying any attention because I got really excited, because these models are the ones I've always wanted. Now, another story about me and Santa Fe is, first off, Santa Fe is my favorite railroad. When I was a little boy, my grandfather would always tell me stories about he and his grandmother rode the Santa Fe from Texas to California and back. You know, he'd go to visit her in the summertime, and he would go ride on the Santa Fe. He'd ride on the Super Chief. But the thing is, he also had some interesting memories about the Santa Fe, because back then blacks weren't really allowed in the South. They weren't allowed to, you know, ride in the luxury cars. They were actually restricted from going on certain areas of the train. So he'd also tell me about these stories about how when he and his grandmother, they'd be on the train, and they'd have to sleep in one of the regular cars. So he'd like sleep on her lap. They didn't always have a sleeping car, but he'd sleep on her lap, and they weren't allowed to go in certain sections. So what they would do is they would put a white sheet up above, you know, in front of one of the cars, and they wouldn't be allowed to go past that white sheet. You know, blacks wouldn't be allowed to go past the white sheet. But he told me the stories about that. You know, they used to have to sleep in train stations because blacks weren't allowed to go into hotels and spend the night there in the southern parts of the country. Once they got up to California, leaving Texas, in the northern part, they were allowed to do that. It's a little bit of a history lesson for you guys too. But I love the Santa Fe. I love the paint scheme. Love the war bonnet paint scheme. And as you guys saw in my Hudson video, I talked about, you know, I loved Lionel as a kid. I remember for video series, I'll refer to it quite often in my videos, but there was a series on TV called Trains Unlimited, and there was a toy train episode, and I remember watching the section about Lionel's Santa Fe's and how the F3s were Lionel's best-selling train ever. But I always loved the way that the F3s and the F7s looked. They just had a nice streamlined look to them. I love the design of these units. And an ABBA set is my dream set. An ABA comes a freaking close second. Either way, I love it. AA, ABA, ABBA, it all looks good if it's in Santa Fe. Didn't mean for that to rhyme, but it did. But I have a string of passenger cars behind us, you might be able to tell. And I you know, with my history here on YouTube, I've done a lot of talking about the Santa Fe, you know, what I wanted for my passenger set, what I wanted for my passenger trains, things like that. I finally did complete my passenger set. Those are all Athearn kits. I picked those up at a show for, I think it was a set of 8 or 9 cars for like $75. With Katie couplers, weighted, metal wheels, all the works, and then the end car, the end observation car, or lounge car, I got at another show for $5. The following show, and that was nice. So I have a decent, you know, Santa Fe passenger set, and I plan on getting the MTH cars, the ones that are lighted and everything. I want to get with the nice metal finish, have a nice chrome look to it. It'll match my PAs really nice. But an interesting fact, I've never purchased, okay, well, I can't say that I've never, but at this speaking, I do not have any HO scale diesel locomotives that are not Santa Fe. I've only purchased two diesel locomotives that were not Santa Fe. I had, I believe, God, what was it? It was a long time ago, way before I was doing... I had this YouTube channel. It was not Chicago Northwestern. I can't remember the railroad name, but it's yellow and green. It's a yellow and green railroad. I can't remember the name of it. But I had one of those diesels, and then I think it was like a GP35, and then I had what was the other one? Oh yeah, I had a UP diesel locomotive. That's going way back, and you'll see that in my old videos as well on YouTube. That was my first engine with sound ever, and I was really ecstatic about that. But I really don't, as far as HO is concerned, generally speaking, I don't buy diesels unless they're Santa Fe, because I'm more of a steam guy. But I do love my diesels if they are in the war bonnet. If they're the Santa Fe, I love absolutely, almost, not quite, but almost as much as I love my steam engines. These diesels are no exception. Let's talk about the models for a minute, okay? These models are absolutely gorgeous. There's not quite a metal finish on the side, but they do glisten. What are they? What would you call it? The vents. The vents on the side of the engine, they do have a nice metal finish to them, and in the right lighting, if at the right angle, they do they shine in your eye, make you go blind for a moment. They look absolutely just stunning. I keep saying that word, but that's the only word I can think of to describe it at this point. Other things, all the details are there. They have windshield wipers. The number boards light up. I like that. These little, I believe those are marker lights right there. Those light up. This, how can I say this? This engine should have a knuckle in the front. I've been too lazy to put one in myself. I didn't do it. The other engine came with a knuckle already installed on in the front and the back. The other A unit. But yeah, these are gorgeous engines. Let's just get a closer look. There's not really much to show you like a steam locomotive. Not as much detail, but you can just get a general idea of, you know, how nice these are. And they look really great with these passenger cars pulling those around. You guys will see that in a little bit too. But another story, the reason why I got rid of the last Santa Fe I had was not only because of the decoder problems, but was also because of just how the engine sounded. I mean, it sounded nice, but I always wanted the blue lines. I mean, I did the Y6B, I did the Hudson, and now I'm doing the Santa Fe's. Those three engines, when I was getting into DCC and sound, I found out about all three of those at the same time. All three of those engines I discovered that Broadway Limited made, and I wanted all of them. These I wanted because of the way the horn sounded out of all the models I've heard in the HO market. Every single one, every single F7 unit I've heard, these have the nicest, most beautiful horns I have ever heard. I love them just as much as the whistle on my Hudson. To be quite honest, guys, if not more so. That's how much I love these. These are like the holy grail of Santa Fe's to me. They just sound so nice. This is how I picture a Santa Fe should sound in my mind. I mean, with me, it's not necessarily the most, I don't always go by what's the most prototypical. I like to go by what sounds best to me, what sounds good in my ear. And in my mind, I've always got some kind of idea of how certain trains should sound just by the way they look. And this Broadway Limited got it spot on for my personal preference. But like I said, these are the Blue Line models. I had seen several videos of those, and I had been looking for these everywhere. I had almost settled and bought the Proto 2000 models. But when I saw these online, I'm like, okay, let's pick these suckers up. Let's get these. I want these really bad. I've always wanted these models. These Blue Lines were just great. They are, as most people know, they are DCC ready. They are not DCC equipped, so all you have to do is plug a decoder in. I bought mine with the decoders already installed. They are NCE decoders. Works perfect because I have the NCE power cab, and it just works great with my system. They sound nice. They run nice. They look nice. And for $375, that is quite a steal. I couldn't really beat that price anywhere for all three engines. Two of them with sound. Honestly, it sounds like all three of them have sound. But with the dummy unit, you know, not having sound at all, but with these two sandwiching it pretty much, they provides enough sound for all three. If I had a fourth B unit that was a dummy, I think it would work just as well. I do plan on getting another B unit. Maybe one from Broadway, I don't know. Just one that'll match that paint scheme. Maybe it'll be powered, maybe not. I'm not worried about it having sound. But these engines, just this set right here, if I never got another B unit, I would be satisfied with this. Just the way that these engines look together when they're pulling freight or passenger looks just great. I love it. I just love it, love it, love it, love it. Can't really say much else about it. The Blue Lines operate differently than your Paragon 2 or even your regular Paragon locomotives. With your Paragon 2 locomotives, you start them up by pressing function 9 twice. With these, you can do it that way, but I prefer not to. I just throttle up one notch, and that'll turn them on like that. They do have a nice sound. Listen to the way that just the engines hum. I like that. The other thing I want to say about the sound is that you don't get as many sound features as you do on a regular Broadway Limited Paragon 2 locomotive. You're not going to get all the sound features. You're not going to get the crew talk. You're not going to get any passenger announcements. You're not going to get the yard sounds, the sawmill, the cattle yard. You're not going to get any of that. What you are going to get, though, is probably one of the best horns you've ever heard in your life. Listen to this. And the one in the background is still blowing his horn because for some reason Digitrax does not like the decoders on these trains. I don't know why, but it always sounds really funny. But let's see if I can get it to see if I can get the horns to sync. It's weird. We'll see if we can do a run by later and get the horns to sync properly. But they do sound nice, as you can hear. What I found interesting is that you can change the pitch of the horn. It doesn't come with 3 or 2 alternate horns like Paragon 2 locomotive would. However, it does come with it does come with the option to change the pitch of your sound effects. So if I can make this pitch incredibly low, incredibly high, in between, I forget which CV it is to change that. I'm not going to change that because I like it at the setting that it's at right now, and I can't remember what the CV value is for it, so I'm just going to leave it alone. However, they sound pretty freaking nice, and I got them to sound this way because I watched a YouTube video. I can't remember who the YouTuber's name is, but I watched a YouTube video, and this person had the Santa Fe's, and I heard the horn on there, and I'm like, okay, I've got to get it. I got to get mine to sound just like that, because when I received them, the pitch in the horn was completely different. It did not sound like this. It was a lot deeper. So I had to listen to the video and listen and change the CVs and listen to the horn on mine to see if I could match it perfect. And I ended up getting them the way I wanted, so I'm happy. The other thing that was interesting, it took me a few hours to figure out how to do this, but I had to reverse the direction of one of the A units. As you can imagine, when running, I don't want to have to put this into a consist all the time. I just want to be able to run them under one address. I want to run them under address number 38. So in order to do that, what you have to do is, whatever system you're using, you're going to have to reverse the direction on one of the engines. I decided to reverse this one. This is my lead engine. This is my rear engine. And this one will always, when this one's going forward, this one will go in reverse. So if I were just to run this one by itself in the back, forward would be reverse and reverse would be forward. I've got it inverse the controls. So it was interesting to figure out how to do that, and it was set up that way when I bought it, but I wanted to know how to do it. I thought he had put it into a consist and he had done it some kind of special way, the way that Broadway Limited describes in their manual. That way was really confusing. He's like, look, what system do you have? I said, NCE. He's like, perfect, that's what I use. Just go ahead, follow these directions, and you'll have it set. Did what he told me to do. Runs great. Flawless. Can't really complain. Anyway, you guys, let's go ahead and fire these suckers up, and we'll get a few run-by shots of these engines. So would I recommend these models, you guys? Abso-freaking-lutely. They sound great. They run great. I've been over all that good stuff before. Like I said, just really awesome models. I've always wanted these. I waited about 3 years to find them, just like the other 2 models that I showed you in the previous reviews. But they do sound fantastic, and they are smooth runners if you get the right decoders installed. Anyway, guys, Railroad Kid 1937 signing off. Not really much more for me to say, other than if you can find a pair, or if you can find a set, get a set. They're really rare right now. I was very lucky to find mine, but they're out there, so just keep looking. Anyway, signing out. Peace. God bless. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in another video review. See you later.